Hi everyone, this is Dr. D at Thrive Head and Spinal Care. I want to take a moment and just explain to you briefly why the focus on upper cervical. So I'd like to use a little bit of a couple of models to show you that. This first one that I want to show you is a model of the head, the base of the head. So this would be the back of the head here. And then we have the upper bones in the neck. And the two that we want to really focus on is the first bone and the second bone. Why this is so important, this area, there's several reasons. But one thing I want you to realize, so if we're looking at this from the front, is that almost every single nerve that goes out to the body passes through. We've got the brain sitting up here, right? And then we've got the brain stem going into what becomes the spinal cord. And in this area, we have all these nerves that go through here. I mean, this one might go to your little toe, and this one goes to your intestinal tract, and this one goes to some of the muscles in your thigh or whatever. But we have millions of nerves that pass through this area to go out into the body. Now let's take a little closer look at this area. And for that, I've got this smaller model here. Now this is anatomically correct for the actual size in an adult human. So I've got the top bone here that's shaped kind of like a donut. It is referred to as C1, cervical 1. We have 7 cervical bones. This is C1, cervical 1, more commonly known as atlas. And then below that we have C2, sometimes referred to as axis, because the top bone, the donut, pivots around that second bone. So this becomes the axis of motion. Now this is unique because understand that none of the rest of the bones in the neck, and quite frankly in the rest of the spine, look like this or are built like this. These two bones, this upper cervical area, is different in that there is no disc here, so there's none of that cushioning. All the rest of the bones in our spine have a disc between them, but there's no disc here. And that disc has what are called Sharpie's fibers that stick up into the bone above and the bone below. So sometimes it's the disc is referred to as the great retaining ligament because it helps retain things together, right? The second thing is there's no bony locks on these joints. These joints can just keep moving and moving and moving. There's no bony lock to stop it where comes up against the bone on the other side and it can't go any farther. All the rest of the joints in our spine have that bony lock, but not here. So that gives us great mobility where we can look back. In the old days, it could save our life. We look back and we see that saber-toothed tiger charging at us, coming after us, or maybe we look up to see if we can get up into a tree. We get all this great mobility, but what we had to trade off in order to get that great mobility is we had to trade off and sacrifice stability. So here's the deal. This upper part of your neck is the most unstable part of the entire spine. It's the most unstable part. But there's another component that adds to this being a very, very critical area. So we've got the neurology in the area. All those nerves pass through this one area. We've got it where it's very, very inherently unstable, but it can be compounded. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this upper cervical spine, C1, C2, also known as atlas axis, in my hand. Christy's going to give me a hand. We're going to put this. The average human head weighs 9 to 12 pounds. It is a challenge to stabilize that 9 to 12 pound bowling ball on top of that upper cervical spine. You've got these tiny little bones trying to be the foundation, if you will, for this bowling ball. And that makes it inherently this constant battle. So you can imagine if I'm sitting at a stop sign and somebody comes up and drives into the back of my car, even at 10 or 20 miles an hour, you've got the weight of this bowling ball moving around on top of that upper cervical spine. And that is why this upper cervical area is the most neurological sensitive area of the entire spine, and yet it is the most susceptible to injury, much more so than any other part of the spine. And here's the last thing I'd like to leave you with. The rest of the spine responds to what's going on up here where your head and neck first meet. So if this is kinked or twisted or not properly functioning right, the rest of your spine can twist up, wind up. It can cause your hip to come up, your shoulders to come up, it can really distort the rest of the body, all playing off what's going up here. And that's why I place so much focus on evaluating and looking at this upper cervical spine, also known as the cranial head cervical junction. Hope that helps you kind of understand how critical this area is, and I'll see you on the next video.